You have successfully survived the exhausting reading, handled the non-stop listening, and now the third part of the exam is before you, the writing section. Forget everything you knew about the TOEFL written part before. The 2026 format has rewritten the rules of the game from scratch. There is no longer a need to squeeze two huge philosophical essays out of yourself in 50 minutes. The exam has become sharp, dynamic, and incredibly demanding of your reaction speed. Now, the entire writing section lasts only about 23 minutes. During this time, you need to complete three completely different tasks, and this section is evaluated on the new, already familiar to us scale from 1 to 6 points. Sounds like a relief? In reality, it's an illusion. The reduction in time means that you no longer have the luxury of sitting in front of a blank screen, biting your lips, and spending 5 minutes pondering a beautiful introduction. Speed, clarity of phrasing, and an ironclad structure are now valued much higher than the volume of written text. Today, we will break down the ultimate time management for each of the three new tasks. We will talk about how to save seconds on planning, why templates are your lifeline, and how not to fail the most important task of the exam due to a lack of time. Let's face it, 23 minutes is disastrously little for a person writing in a non-native language. Your brain must work like a Swiss watch, switching between completely different formats without the slightest delay. The section consists of three parts: building a sentence, write an email, and write for an academic discussion. You have about 3 minutes for the first task, 7 minutes for the second, and exactly 10 minutes for the third. Each task requires its own unique approach to time distribution. You cannot afford to borrow a couple of minutes from the discussion to finish the email. The timer ruthlessly cuts you off and moves you on. Therefore, time control within each specific task is your only path to high scores. The first task is build a sentence. This is the fastest and most dynamic part of the exam. A short context appears before you. It could be a question or a statement. And below it is a set of mixed sentence fragments like a puzzle. Your task is to assemble a grammatically correct and logical sentence from these fragments that perfectly fits the context. In total, there will be from 6 to 10 such sentences. You have about 3 minutes for the entire block. Through simple math, we understand that you have only 20, maximum 30 seconds for one sentence. This is a true grammar sprint. How to meet this harsh limit? First, use the context rule. Spend the first 3 to 5 seconds evaluating the input data. If the context is a statement, for example, I don't know where to go for dinner, then your answer from the fragments will likely form a logical question. Shall we go to an Italian restaurant? If the context is a question, you assemble a statement. This instantly narrows the field for errors. Second, strictly follow the classic word order in English. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Find the subject, then attach the auxiliary and main verb to it, and only then arrange the objects and modifiers. The time management scheme here is simple. 5 seconds to understand the context, 15 to 20 seconds to assemble the puzzle, 5 seconds for a quick final check. Is there a leftover fragment by chance? If you cannot assemble the sentence in 30 seconds, put it together as best as you can and move on to the next one. Don't freeze. One incorrect sentence will not destroy your final score, but 2 lost minutes will deprive you of the chance to answer the remaining 5 sentences. The second task is write an email. You see on the screen a description of a work or study situation and 3 or 4 specific bullet points that you must cover in your message. You have exactly 7 minutes for everything. The minimum length is 120 words. 7 minutes will fly by so fast that you won't even have time to blink. How to distribute this time? Your ideal scheme: 30 seconds for reading the task and planning, 5 minutes for writing the text itself, and exactly 1.5 minutes for final proofreading. Let's look at the most common mistake that completely kills time management in this task. Students start inventing the email structure from scratch right at the exam. They agonizingly think about how best to say hello, how to elegantly get to the point, how to politely say goodbye. Precious minutes are wasted on this. Your strategy is the art of strict templates. You must come to the exam with the structure of a perfect email already hardwired into your subconscious. Your brain should not waste energy on formalities. As soon as the timer starts, your fingers should automatically type. Subject line: Dear Professor Smith. Next comes a template introduction of 1 or 2 sentences about the purpose of the email. I am writing to inform you that. After that, you move to the body of the email. Here, you simply take those very 3-4 points from the task and systematically, step by step, expand on them. No unnecessary philosophy, just dry facts. You also finish the email on full autopilot. I would appreciate if you could. Thank you for your assistance. Sincerely, and your name. Using home preparations for the formal parts of the email saves you at least a minute and a half to 2 minutes. And these saved minutes are what you will spend on expanding the main points of the task without grammar errors. Don't forget about the mandatory 1.5 minutes for checking at the end. In a rush, you will definitely make a couple of silly typos that could cost you points. Save time to fix them. And now we move to the final boss of the writing section, academic discussion task. This is the weighted task which makes the largest contribution to your final score for the entire written part. Before you is a university forum interface. The professor asks a discussion question and two students have already written their detailed options. Your task is to join the discussion. You must answer the professor's question, clearly express and justify your position, and essentially reference the words of at least one of the students who spoke. You have exactly 10 minutes. The minimum required length is 100 words, but I strongly recommend writing more, around 130-150 words to fully develop your thought. How not to fail the timing in this task? Divide the 10 minutes into 3 ironclad stages. 1 to 2 minutes for reading and making a decision, 7 to 8 minutes for active writing, and 1 minute for final text polishing. The main trap hides in the first stage. Students read the professor's question, read the other students' answers, and start thinking deeply. They weigh all the pros and cons, trying to find the most original, smartest, and most philosophical thought. They lose 3 or even 4 minutes to this. Listen, this is an English language test, not a defense of a doctoral dissertation in philosophy. The system absolutely doesn't care how deep your thought is. What matters to it is how correctly, coherently, and reasonably you can express any, even the most banal position in English. Therefore, make a decision with lightning speed. Agree with the first student? Excellent. Take their side, add your unique real-life example, and write. Don't spend more than 2 minutes thinking. While writing, use a clear pre-practice structure. First, a clear statement of your position. Second, your own developed argument that adds something new to the discussion. Third, a specific example that confirms your argument. Quality here always beats quantity. One strong, logically verified argument with a good example will bring you far more points than 3 superficial thoughts written in a rush and with a bunch of grammar mistakes. In the last minute, be sure to reread your text. Check two critical things. Did you directly answer the professor's questions? And did you mention the other student's position? If you forgot to refer to other participants in the discussion, you haven't fully completed the task, and your score will be guaranteed to drop. Speaking of time management in writing, we must touch upon the technical and psychological aspects of the issue. Let's be realistic. In this section, typing speed decides if not everything, then a great deal. You can know grammar perfectly and have a brilliant argument in your head, but if you are looking for every letter on the keyboard with your index finger, you physically won't manage to write the necessary length of the text in the allotted minutes. If you plan to take the TOEFL exam, your primary task is to master the touch typing method on the English layout. This is not up for debate. Your speech should be such that thoughts flow directly onto the screen, bypassing the conscious control of your fingers. The second point is colossal fatigue. Writing is the third section of the exam. Before this, you have already spent about an hour straining your eyes on reading and your hearing on listening. Your brain is overheated, your attention is scattered, you just want to close your eyes. This is exactly why I insist so much on using ready-made structures and strict templates. In a state of stress and fatigue, the capacity for creative thinking drops almost to zero. Templates are your autopilot. They allow you to start writing as soon as the timer starts, without waiting for the arrival of sudden inspiration. Practice at home in conditions as close to combat as possible. Write essays and emails exclusively with a running timer. Force yourself to fit into 7 minutes for an email and 10 minutes for an academic discussion. And do this after completing practice sections of reading and listening, so that your brain gets used to generating quality English text against a backdrop of severe fatigue. Implement these strategies in your preparation. Practice your templates until they become automatic. Improve your typing speed, and you will see that 23 minutes is more than enough to get that 5 or 6 on the new scale. And in the next video, we will break down the final, most stressful stage of the exam, speaking section. See you soon!